predictions. Obviously, we know the usual candidates. I want to talk about maybe some surprises that we could see in the East and the West. So let's talk about that in today's live stream. So let's start with the East. Obviously, with Jason Tatum and Tyrese Halliburton and Damian Lillard, no longer in the East as well, and he's injured, that's going to, open up at least, 3 potential roster spots for 3 potential new All-Stars. So, I am going to focus on 3 potential new All-Stars that could, and not that they've never been an All-Star before potentially, but 3 potential new All-Stars to take, those 3 players' spots. So the first one I want to talk about is Norman Powell. Now, if you watch this page, I thought Norman Powell should have been an All-Star last year. I was really rooting for him to be an All-Star last year, and he obviously didn't end up getting a spot. But now in the Eastern Conference, he obviously is going to have another shot because he's on Miami. So he's going to be a focal point of their offense. Not going to be the number 1 option. That'll be Bam Adebayo, but he will be a focal point. So Norman Powell will get plenty of touches, plenty of opportunities to score and shoot. And like I said, because there are 3 potential, new All-Star spots, he could get one of them. So I think Norman Powell could be, I don't want to say a surprise, but when I'm saying surprise, I'm saying not the obvious ones like, LeBron, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Giannis, like those, in my opinion, I mean, they're still predictions, obviously, because you never know what's going to happen during the season. But, as long as those players are healthy, it's pretty much a guaranteed spot for them, because they're going to play really well. So, again, I'm just talking about a few players who I think might have an All-Star caliber season and get a spot, but may not necessarily be an All-Star, the year after. Just, year to year. So, Norman Powell is one. Another one who I actually thought could have been an All-Star last year as well, and I was talking about how, even though he injured his shoulder so he wouldn't have been able to play, I thought that I feel like he didn't even get enough, recognition or votes for how he did play when he was healthy, and that's Jalen Johnson. I feel like Jalen Johnson could have been an All-Star last year, and I feel like this year, again, it's wide open, extra spots, and I feel like because the Atlanta Hawks, I think, are going to do very well, and I think he's one of the key contributors of them doing well, that I think Atlanta could have 2 All-Stars this year. Unlike last year where I said Atlanta's probably only going to get 1 All-Star, and that will be obviously Trae Young. So this year, if Atlanta does as well as I'm projecting, which I have them ending up being a top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference, the Atlanta Hawks could have 2 All-Stars, and that's where I think Jalen Johnson can make his first All-Star appearance. Because, again, I think Jalen Johnson was playing like an All-Star last year. He could have had a spot. So look out for Norman Powell. Look out for Jalen Johnson. I think some people may put Miles Turner on that radar. And I'm not opposed to Miles Turner being an All-Star. He's obviously a very good player, and now he's on the Bucks, and he's going to be one of their focal points because obviously Dame is not there anymore, and Brook Lopez is not there anymore, and stuff like that. So he's going to get plenty of touches and opportunities, and I'm not saying Miles Turner can't or won't be an All-Star. I don't know if he's going to put up the stats to qualify to be an all-star next year. That's just my opinion. Again, I would, if Miles Turner's an all-star, that's amazing, but I'm not sure he's going to qualify. When I say qualify, I mean just get the votes. That doesn't mean he's not having a great season. So, but I think a lot of people would probably predict him because of the new team he's on, and because he is going to be important to their team. So again, I don't necessarily, I'm not sure Miles Turner will end up being an all-star, but I definitely do agree that he could have an incredible season, and he definitely could be an all-star on the Bucks. Just remains to be seen. I think the last one I'll talk about in the East, which I feel like is kind of obvious in a way, would be Franz Wagner. I think the Orlando Magic are going to be a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. And so again, that may give them the opportunity to have 2 All-Stars. And as amazing as Paolo is, and Paolo is great, and I think he's, trending in the right direction. Obviously, he's been an all-star. He's doing great things. His co-star, Franz Wagner, is really, really good too. And it's just unfortunate that Franz got hurt last year with the same injury that Paolo had. But I think Franz Wagner is a candidate to be an all-star next year. I think he's going to play really well. I wouldn't be surprised if he's averaging 20-plus points per game. So look out for Franz Wagner for an all-star. Somebody said, I'm from Milwaukee. Are you rooting for the Bucks then? I'm assuming you are. And then I just want to quickly talk about the West. I'll talk about, again, Victor Wembanyama is not a surprise or anything like that. Those type of players, again, and that's not really what this video is focused on. I do think that Chet Holmgren might be an all-star this year. I talked about it maybe a couple months ago, and I was saying, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I feel like Chet Holmgren next season could be the second best player on the Thunder. And that's no disrespect to J-Dub. I like J-Dub. I think he's really good. He's incredible, right? But I don't know. I just felt like Chet Holmgren could take a really big step next season. And so to me, that also leads to a potential all-star nod. So look out for Chet to be a all-star next year, maybe. And then the last player I want to talk about is, I don't know if this is a surprise, so I'm thinking about it, but Alperen Sengun. Again, I don't think it's a surprise because of, what he did last year and stuff like that. But the West is always loaded, and so I feel although again, I don't think it's a surprise personally, I do think that it is hard to get a spot on the All-Star team. So I do think Alperen Sengun will have another really good season. He's obviously one of their main focal points, and I see no reason as to why he doesn't make the All-Star team as well. The Rockets should be really good. Okay, staying on the Rockets for a second though. I'm a fan of Amen Thompson. I'm a fan of his. I don't know if he's going to be an all-star next year, and I think that's the route that some people would also be thinking, Amen Thompson, because the sky is the limit for him. I feel with KD there now, and obviously Alperen Sengun's still there, he's not going to be able to put up the stats to be an all-star next year, but in the future, for sure. I think he's a future perennial all-star. I just think at this moment, he's not going to be able to put the stats to do that. So thank you guys so much for watching this live stream. I hope you enjoyed, and see you soon. Bye!